Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Wednesday morning. We're back with another massive show to bring you guys today. But before we jump into that, please smash a like on the video. Let's try and see 200 likes on today's show, and also subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching. On the show this morning, we are going to be talking a little bit about Mason Greenwood, with apparently a move to a La Liga club in the summer looking quite likely. We'll also be talking about Bruno Fernandes and a potential new contract, talking about the new stadium. Lots more information has been coming out since we spoke last night about, what Jim Ratcliffe's plans are for a potential new stadium and what would happen to Old Trafford and all the rest of it. So we'll get into that. A bit of topical transfer news as well. Bit of an update on Christian Eriksen. Lots to get into on the show this morning. It's always a busy time, being a Manchester United fan. So, let's jump straight on into it. And as always, guys, I invite you to have your say on all things Manchester United in the comment section below. And the question that I've got for you guys today is, what would you do about the stadium situation? Okay? That's where I want you to interact. That's what I want you to let me know in the comment section. What is your dream scenario? Do you want to rebuild Old Trafford? Do you want to build a new stadium next to Old Trafford and keep Old Trafford there, maybe for the women's team and the youth team? What would be your dream scenario? I've obviously got to answer the question because I think, I can't ask a question and then not answer it myself. So for me personally, I don't have a dream scenario at this moment in time because I think we still were missing quite a few bits of the important information. So it's impossible for me to say 100% certain that this is what I think should happen, because I think we're a little bit too early in the process to form a definitive opinion. But as it stands at the moment, as of today, of what I've heard so far, I've just read this morning that apparently to bring Old Trafford to the level of a Man City or a Tottenham, a modern stadium, would cost United around about £1 billion. And apparently it could take as long as 8 years. But there are fears that even if they spend this amount of money and it takes this amount of time, that they're still just going to be continually having to repair it and put it back together. Because it's the same as, I'm trying to think of an example, but if you live in an old house, this is a perfect example, okay? So say, for anybody who lives in the UK, say you live in an old Victorian house. So Victorian houses are usually about 50 to 100 years old, okay? Versus living in a modern house. It depends. Sometimes modern houses are built badly, but let's just say for argument's sake that this modern house has been built well versus an old Victorian house, okay? The Victorian house will stand the length of time. It will stay up, but it'll be damp, it'll be cold, it won't be warm. There's all sorts of issues in older houses. And the point I'm trying to make here is, for anybody who lives in the UK and lives in a Victorian house, you'll know, like I do, I live in one right now, and you're constantly having to spend money on renovating it, constantly having to spend money on improving it because it's old, The building regs 50 to 100 years ago are not like what the building regs are now. Like, it's completely different, isn't it? And if you think that, obviously Old Trafford wasn't exactly built 10 years ago, it was built in 1910. It's over 100 years old. Obviously, it's been added to over the last kind of 100 years, but that stadium itself in that exact location has been there for over 100 years, which is absolutely incredible. Like, that is a beautiful part of our history. But, I do kind of understand these stories that are coming out today saying that even though they could potentially bring Old Trafford to, the level of a Tottenham Hotspur type stadium and all the rest of it with all these modern things, it's still going to cost a hell of a lot of money. And it's going to take a lot longer because they're having to add to something that's already existing versus just building something from new. So I don't know. It's difficult. My stance has always been this, I think, in the short term. Like, I don't want Old Trafford to ever be destroyed. I want it to stay there forever. I think that, you could use it for the women's team. I think you could use it for the under-21s, the under-18s. I think you could use it for big sporting events, for charity matches. Maybe you start doing some, other types of sporting events there. I don't know, like a one-off NFL match. I'm just brainstorming things here, by the way. This isn't, 100% set. This is just me talking off the top of my head. But, the Old Trafford would always remain there. You could do your museum tours there. All these amazing things that could still continue happening. Because to me, it is like, it's like I don't want to say it's a place of worship because that makes it go on a religious kind of angle, which obviously it isn't. But it is somewhere that people come to from all over the world, and it's such a special place with so much history, so many memories for, even me, someone in their 20s has gone there and had such, amazing memories. And to knock it down would obviously be absolutely devastating, I think. So for me, Old Trafford has to stay. But I do like the idea of having a brand new modern stadium next to it. 100,000 people, 90,000 people that would be, well, just modern and have everything that you want. But then you've still got Old Trafford there where, these youngsters who come to Manchester United at the moment in the under 18s and under 21s, like most of them don't have a proper stadium to play in. The women's team don't have a proper stadium to play in. And I think it would be a massive investment in our youth, a massive investment in our women's team if we then, said to them effectively, Old Trafford can be yours to use. You might have to maybe make it a little bit smaller. Maybe you take down one of the stands. I don't know. This is just me talking off the top of my head. I'm not 100% at this point what the plan would be. But for me personally, if it's a case of destroy Old Trafford, I don't want that 100%. I want Old Trafford to remain, but I would be open to having a new stadium as well, as long as Old Trafford could still stay there and it was still somewhere that people could go. Let's have a look what people are saying in the chat this morning. Dominique says we should turn Old Trafford into a museum. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Fred says, I'd love a new stadium on the same site, but the finance side is a worry. How will it be paid for? More debt. Yeah, we're going to talk about the finance side now, okay? Because there's a really, really interesting story that's just broken the last couple of hours that apparently Jim Ratcliffe is going to approach the UK government to try and get them to help fund a new stadium. And his argument is that there isn't a stadium of the size of Wembley in the north. Obviously, London, down south, there's loads of big stadiums. You've got the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, which is close to where I live. You've got obviously Wembley. How big's the Millennium Stadium? I think that's about 90,000, isn't it? Let me have a look. Obviously, it's in Cardiff. It's the same as Old Trafford, sorry. Millennium Stadium, 75,000. Obviously, you've got Wembley, which I think is 90,000, is it? Yeah, 90,000. But then the further up north you get, you don't really have anything. Obviously, Old Trafford is the biggest stadium in the north. And from what I'm hearing this morning, Jim Ratcliffe is considering approaching the UK government to try and get some level of investment into that area to build this modern stadium that could obviously be used for sporting events, could be used for all sorts of different things, live concerts, whatever it might be. But the thing I don't really understand about that is, does that mean that Manchester United wouldn't own their own stadium? Does that mean that the government would own United Stadium? Like, I don't really get that bit of it, because obviously stadium revenue is probably one of our biggest income generators, match day revenue. If you think at the moment we've got 75,000 capacity stadium, and let's say on average people pay £50 per game, right? Obviously some tickets are 300-500 if you get a box, tens of thousands if you've got a box, or I think the cheapest ticket at Old Trafford at the moment is about 30 quid, but it goes up to like crazy amounts of money if you have food and all the rest of it. So just off the top of my head here, on an average match day, just from ticket revenue alone, United will make somewhere around £3.5 to £4 million off ticket sales at the moment. Okay, which is good. That's a massive amount of money. And then obviously, if you include drinks, merch, all the rest of it, it's probably anywhere between £5 and £10 million that Manchester United makes every time there's a game at Old Trafford, which is incredible. Now, if United was to be in a 90,000 person stadium, which we would sell out easily, let's be clear, like, that would massively increase our revenue immediately. We'd probably make about an extra $1 million per match day alone, just from ticket revenue, let alone what you'd make from if you had, really nice restaurants and, nice bars and all these things inside there, which we don't have at the moment. Whenever I've been to Old Trafford recently, like, I don't buy anything, being completely honest. And that's not because I'm a cheapskate and I don't want to. It's because, like, what they offer there, it's just not it's just not worth spending my money on, to be honest. I'm happy. I go there to watch the football. I don't go there to get, like, wasted. Like, that's not what you go there for. But, you see Tottenham Stadium, they've got their own brewery. They've got all these crazy things that are in the stadium. And I think that when, it's all about an experience, isn't it? And when an experience is good, people are more likely to spend more money. That's what I'm kind of getting across here. And I think that, if you did have all of these modern things, maybe a hotel in the stadium, you had nice restaurants, nice bars. Even the stadium here in Bristol. So obviously I live in Bristol. in Bristol, you've got Bristol City and Bristol Rovers, right? So Bristol City are actually playing Nottingham Forest tonight. So I'll be watching that because whoever wins out of that game tonight, we play in the next round of the FA Cup. So that's interesting. But anyway, Bristol City have just got a new stadium. And I'm telling you now, right, Bristol City Stadium's better than Old Trafford. Like, obviously not from the history, not from the size, but from the facilities it has in there. The roof's not leaking, the toilets aren't overflowing with urine, all the rest of it. The restaurants, the bars and stuff in there. Like, it's levels above Old Trafford by way of the amenities. And for me to be comparing Old Trafford to a stadium in the Championship, I don't think Bristol City have ever even been in the Premiership as far as I'm aware. Like, and saying that, their stadium is more up together than our stadium, that kind of sums it up for me. Let's see what else people are saying. Al says Qatar would not be begging the UK government for money. This is pretty low. I don't know, mate. I think until we know all of the details, I think we've got to, just take it with a pinch of salt. Yeah. Robert says we should flatten Old Trafford and rebuild it 100%. I would be devastated if they flattened Old Trafford. I really, really would. Paul says this is hard to say, but look at what City are doing. Look at the plans that they have. Just had passed to build a hotel and add another 7,000 empty seats. It looks amazing. I haven't actually seen that, to be honest, mate. I'm going to have a quick look now. Etihad, let's have a quick look. Everybody smash a like on the video, by the way, if you haven't already. Let's try and hit 200 likes on today's video. Somebody in the chat talking about, okay, so here we go. So yeah, Man City Stadium's going to be over 60,000. They're going to spend 300 million, adding an additional 7,900 seats, which no one will want to sit in. They're adding a 391 bedroom hotel. Wow. I mean, that's impressive, isn't it? Like, their stadium is already good, but I mean, yeah, I'm looking at the artist mock-ups of Man City's new stadium. It looks unbelievable. Like, compared to Old Trafford, like, obviously I'm not saying that, the Etihad, there's no atmosphere. It's half empty most of the time, but, yeah, it's just uncomparable, isn't it? But yeah, we don't have the luxury of spending 300 million. We've got to either spend $1 billion on improving Old Trafford or build a whole new stadium. Alex says City will just give out 7,000 tickets for free. Yeah, probably. Right. Nick says, I don't see anything wrong with getting other people to help contribute to build a new Old Trafford. Yeah, I don't know, mate. It completely depends on the context. If it's a government loan that's, repayable with really small amounts of interest, then I think that's good. If it's that the government would then own our stadium, that's obviously not good. Like, it depends, doesn't it? Like, if the government are investing in art, culture, sport, etc., then I could see why the government would, free up money or a loan, whatever you want to call it, to give Jim Ratcliffe to build this new stadium. And I think that would be cool. Like, I'd be open to that as long as it wasn't like crazy interest and that, there was a 5-year plan for us to have full ownership of our stadium, But at the moment, we obviously are missing all of the fine print, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. Right, let's move on to the next story, though. Let's talk a little bit about Mason Greenwood really, really quickly. So the story this morning is that apparently Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid and Barcelona are all interested in signing Marcus. My brain's going here. They're all interested in signing Mason Greenwood in the summer. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, he's gone to La Liga. He's doing really, really well from what I can see. He's had little to no backlash apart from obviously this supposed incident with Jude Bellingham in the game the other day, where I think Jude Bellingham allegedly said something to him and it's been kind of played up. They've got videos and stuff of it. But I mean, his stats are good for this season. He's averaging a goal or an assist every other game in La Liga, playing for Getafe, who, let's be honest, are a pretty poor side. So it doesn't surprise me that teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona and Atletico Madrid are interested in him. It really, really doesn't. Obviously, this summer is where we need to sell him if we're going to. His contract technically expires in June this year, which is interesting actually. But we do have the option of extending it by one further year. So I think he will leave in the summer. What type of money we'll get for him is really, really hard to say. Obviously, he'd only have a year left of his contract. Very, very difficult. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Let me know what you guys think, though, about Mason Greenwood. Would you like to see him back at United, or do you think moving him on is the best situation? Right, next up, we have got a bit of an update on Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, there's been quite a few stories circulating over the last couple of days saying that apparently Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia are interested in signing Bruno Fernandes in the summer. Apparently they had a bid rejected in January. I'm not sure how true that is. None of the big journalists, the Fabrizios, the Laurie Whitwells, the etc., none of them said that the bid was rejected. So I think maybe these Saudi clubs put out feelers, but I would be surprised if there was this massive bid rejected and no one knew about it. But the headline this morning is that apparently Manchester United are considering giving Bruno Fernandes a new contract. He's got 2 years left of his current deal. I'm going to get a poll going really, really quickly, actually, to see what you guys think about this. If you have joined in the last couple of minutes, please smash a like, by the way. So what would you do with Bruno? Simple question. You've got 3 options. New contract, sell, let contract run down. If you're watching it back on repeat, you can obviously just get involved in the comment section. There we go. Cool. So the poll's set up. Simple question. What would you do with Bruno? So 3 options are either we give him a new contract. That's what's being talked about this morning. Either you sell him or either you let his contract run down. 2 years left of his deal. And the headline this morning is that apparently Manchester United are not willing to give him a pay rise, which I think is correct. I think Bruno Fernandes has been a good player for us. But if he is to stay beyond his current 2 years, I don't see why you'd give him a new contract. Why you'd give him more money. He's already on 250 grand a week. That's still a hell of a lot of money. Yes, there's people who are earning more than him at the moment, but there are people like Casemiro who probably is going to go in the next couple of years. There are people like Varane who's going to go in the next couple of years. There are people like Martial who's going to leave in the summer. If certain players leave this summer, Bruno Fernandes will then be the highest earning player. So it's not like he's earning peanuts and he's asking for more money. He's still up there, in the top kind of 5 earners at the club. So I don't know. I'm unsure what I'd do with Bruno, to be honest. I think I like Bruno. I think he's a good player. As I've said to you guys before on the show, I don't think he really suits Erik ten Hag's style of football personally. I think he gives the ball away a little bit too much. I think, Erik ten Hag needs people who just retain the possession, and I think Bruno Fernandes has a tendency to find the Hollywood pass, to try and play the beautiful ball every single time, and a lot of the time it doesn't work. I do like him though. I wouldn't probably get rid of him personally. Let's have a look. So far 47% of you would say new contract, 37% of you would say sell Bruno, and then 16% of you say let his contract run down, which he has 2 years left of. Somebody says it's a new era, we should cash in on Bruno, we need to rebuild. Yeah, fair enough. Stephanie says new contract shouldn't mean more money, just rejig contracts for all team players. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think if it was, giving him a 1-year extension on the same terms, I would be happy with that. I just think that usually a new contract means throwing another 100 grand a week at them, which I don't think, even though Bruno's been good for us, I don't think he warrants an extra 100 grand a week. I think 250 grand a week is perfectly reasonable for Bruno Fernandes. I know he's available a lot. I know he doesn't get injured much. I know his stats are good. I know he's the captain, but if you look over at Man City, people like Phil Foden, Kyle Walker, Ake, I'm just looking at their wages here now. All of these people earn less than what Bruno Fernandes earns at the moment, and they're first team players who have just won the treble. So yeah, but let me know what you guys think about that one in the comment section. I am going to wrap the video up here. I will be back this evening at 6 o'clock. And big up to Fred, who has just gifted 5 memberships to the Daily Red Devil Members Club. Thank you very much for your support, my friend. I really, really do appreciate it. If you have just got a membership, please do make sure to say thank you to Fred in the chat for all of his support on the channel. And if you are somebody who wants to join the membership and you didn't just get the members a free membership from Fred, then I've just dropped a link to do that in the chat. I will be back this evening at 6 o'clock, everybody. Have a great day. Please smash a like on the video before you go. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been Daily Red Devil, and I'll speak to you all at about 6 p.m. this evening.